I was recently having a conversation with a member of my creator community, Soulcial Suite. She is a creator who creates early career advice content. And one of the things that she wanted to do was start to incorporate more content that's just general lifestyle. Like she wanted to bring herself into more of the content. And this is something that I see creators wanting to do more and more because obviously we're living our lives every day. Wouldn't it be great to just share more of that with our community? But for some reason, it feels like this big challenge or this big rebrand. And there's probably actually not that much that goes into it. And it actually might not be as big a deal as we're making it out to be. One of the conversations that I wanted to also loop into this conversation was all about the term lifestyle. And when we think about incorporating more of our life into content, we're probably also thinking about calling ourselves lifestyle creators. I personally have a bone to pick with this, and I'm going to share it with you today. Hopefully, it gets your wheels turning, and you can use that to make whatever decision you would like to make. So, let's get right into it. I'm Kristen Busquet, and I've been a full-time creator for over 3 years, and I've brought in over $350,000 from sponsored posts and content creation collaborations with brands so far. Social Scoop is the podcast where we teach you, the entrepreneurial creator, to turn your online influence and creativity into a profitable, self-sustaining business. So I first want to start off by talking about this term lifestyle. I would probably say that it's a safe bet if we were to assume that 50% of creators probably have the word lifestyle somewhere on their profile. Honestly, I feel like everyone calls themselves a lifestyle creator. Obviously, lifestyle can consist of so many different things. And so that's why the term is so versatile or so flexible and so popular. But I also think it could be sometimes doing more harm than it is actually doing good. So when I think of lifestyle personally, I think of home decor, I think of fitness, I think of food, and obviously you listening might think that lifestyle means something completely different. I remember in a social suite meeting when we had talked about this, I asked in the chat, all right, write what you think that this means to you, and everyone had different answers, like vlogging, beauty, fashion. And so for me to call myself a lifestyle creator, it's actually not telling my audience anything specific. The idea behind, I think, lifestyle is also, well, I don't want to like box myself in or have too specific of a niche where I feel like I can't talk about other things I might want to talk about. And I understand that being like a concern or being like a roadblock, but you also, on the other end, have this idea of if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one, right? So if you are calling yourself a lifestyle creator so that you can talk about more different topics and you can reach a different audience and like really have this like big, vast pool of people that you can talk to and hopefully get come to follow you, you are actually not saying anything that's specifically interesting or appealing to them potentially enough that they're going to actually come follow you. I think that there are very few creators who call themselves lifestyle creators and generally just talk about everything. And honestly, they probably got pretty popular off of one of those topics and then people fell kind of in love with them as a person and then they could expand and like actually care about all those other topics. But I think for the general creator population, we really do need to have that one thing that we talk about or that one thing that we can relate to with people about so that we can speak directly to them, get them super involved in what we're talking about, and then from there expand. So when we think about lifestyle, again, I think it's just a little confusing because we're not actually saying anything by calling ourselves lifestyle creators. It just means too many different things to too many different people. Now, the other part of this is, do we really need to call it lifestyle? For example, this creator who focuses on, again, like early career tips. So people like just getting to their jobs or graduating college and getting into a career. Typically, the content that she was sharing was really focused on tips, valuable, like in the traditional sense of valuable tips. But when we wanted to kind of like add lifestyle in there, it was like early career tips, and lifestyle. So again, we're just basically by saying that, we're telling our audience, like, hey, I'm also going to be talking about just like things in my life, right? Do you really even need to say that? Don't you think that like you could just talk about early career tips and then also talk about like the things in your life that are going to relate back to early career tips, or like early career, or you in a target audience of being someone who's early on in their career? I actually don't think it's super necessary for you to necessarily call yourself a lifestyle creator, knowing that you are just a person who's posting on the internet. Maybe you're talking about one specific topic, but you're also a person, right? Like you have interests, you have other things outside of just that one topic that you're very likely going to be talking to and somehow connecting back to your niche, right? Like the topic that you're an expert in. So, for example, in this specific creator's profile, I was looking at the profile and it said early career tips and lifestyle. And I was like, what if we were to just change that to like helping you navigate your early career era? Because your early career era definitely says you're going to give me some tips about being early on in my career, but it also says you're going to tell me what it's like to date, as someone who's in my early career era, or you're going to teach me how to like stay fit when you're so focused on your new job, or you're going to teach us how to afford things when maybe you're not getting like a big salary right away, or whatever that might be. You're automatically going to be incorporating a lot of lifestyle content, and it falls under the branch of navigating your early career era versus calling it like early career tips and lifestyle. So then it becomes more specific, right? Like you're speaking to a very specific person, someone who is in their early career era, and you have also just opened the field on like all of these different topics that you can talk about that still fall under that branch. So again, I don't think lifestyle is even necessary to put in there. I think you just need to appeal to your target audience and relate to them, and then realistically, you could talk about whatever you want, right? Now, when we think about how people kind of like funnel through and become someone who in the beginning never even knew us, didn't know our content, and then we funnel through into the type of person who comments on everything. And when we share things, they click on it and they're always there DMing, and like they're loyal, they're friends, right? How do we get someone from like lowest tier to top tier? Typically, that funnel is they find you from a piece of content. And in this case, maybe it is like one of those early career tips, something super valuable traditionally. And they find that one video, they go to your profile, and they start looking maybe through other videos and go, oh, wow, like this person shares a lot of really like helpful things, or a lot of relatable things, or things that are relevant to me as someone scrolling right now. And they might hit that follow button. Once they hit that follow button, now they have like entered the next tier up, and they're probably going to start like watching more of your content, or maybe they're going to start seeing your stories or responding to stories and like start leaving comments or DMs here and there. And then what's going to happen is through the exposure of watching your content and having conversations with you, they're going to start building an actual friendship, like an actual relationship with you. At that point, it doesn't really matter what you post, because now you're just like my friend. And whether you give me an early career piece of advice, or you tell me about, dating as someone who is in their early career era, I don't care which one you share with me. All I want to do is see your face, hear your voice, and hang out with you. Right? Once people get to that top tier, like they just want to hang out with you. And I think this really like brings to light the importance of actually having conversations, like really building friendships and relationships with your content, because we want people to get to that like top tier level where we could share so many things, like whether I'm sharing like here's a picture of my dog that you probably at this point maybe know the name of, versus here's like this really valuable tip. We are getting the same interaction. You're not going to get lower interaction on your more quote unquote lifestyle content just because it's not a quote unquote valuable piece of content. Because to your audience that's in that top tier, a piece of lifestyle content like a vlog or something is going to be just as valuable as any other tip or education that you might be sharing. That is the goal. So knowing that, how can you find ways to talk about your more quote unquote lifestyle-esque content with one single connecting thread that is going to connect your OG people and what they followed you for to your new lifestyle content? I give this example all the time. And it is partnership based, but it kind of like gives the same purpose, right? So basically, if me, as someone who talks about content creation and building your career as a content creator, if I were to want to talk about Stanley water bottles, obviously, Stanley water bottles, like water bottle company, not super relevant to the creator economy. There's like a pretty big stretch on how we would have to connect those. But my one single connecting thread, if I wanted to make a video about how much I love my Stanley water bottle, would be to connect my content creators to Stanley. I might say something like, I know that you're sitting at your desk all day long and you already feel like you don't have enough time to get through all of the things that you need to check off your to-do list. Getting up every 30 minutes to go refill your water and take that time away from the things you have to do is straight up annoying. So instead, you get yourself a Stanley water bottle. This is like way bigger. You can fit way more water in it. You're not going to have to refill it as often. And it's going to stay cold. So you don't have like gross room temperature water. And basically, you should go buy one, right? So the connecting thread was me talking about how I, as a creator, am specifically finding my Stanley valuable. And that would be instead of me just saying, hey guys, I know that I always talk about creator tips, but today I'm going to talk to you just about Stanley and how amazing they are. You can take them on a boat, you can take them to the park. My content creator audience maybe doesn't have time or energy to go on a boat or go to a park, okay? They need to know about how it's going to be useful to their goal of building their creator business. So, in order to do all of that, you need to have one single connecting thread that's going to connect your lifestyle content with your new topic, with your lifestyle content. And basically, from there, you need to do it in a way that doesn't isolate that OG group of people who followed you for your niche content or your quote unquote valuable content, the tips, the education, whatever it might be. So you need to find a way to connect those two. In the example of the early career tips creator, it might be something like, since I've been focusing on my career after graduating college, I haven't had time for dating. And then you could have a whole video about like how you're getting into dating again as someone who doesn't have time because they just got into their new career. So see how that is relevant. How can you take your lifestyle content and make it relevant to the audience who you know you already have? That's the big question. And sometimes it might feel like a big stretch, right? Like sometimes it might feel like there's absolutely no way in this world that you're gonna be able to connect the two. Go on ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, how can I connect my niche with this concept for content that's going to be relevant to insert target audience here? And let it give you some ideas, maybe get your wheels turning. So I hope that all makes sense. However, there's one other thing I need to say here. And this is that you pay 1,000 million gazillion times more attention to your content than anyone else on this planet. And it's going to feel maybe like a big change to you to be the one who's going to like, okay, now I'm going to start incorporating all this lifestyle content and dating and fitness or whatever. But if you can do it in a way that is strategic, no one is going to care. No one is going to notice. No one's going to be pissed off at you. We are all going to, as long as you're still contributing to that mission of your purpose and why we're following you, I don't care if you give me a straight up tip or you tell me about some lifestyle piece of content that is going to be still relevant to me. You are paying so much more attention to your content than anyone else. Your audience, us as your audience, are not going to probably even notice a big difference or any difference at all. For you, it's going to feel like a huge shift. So, for that, going into that, just know that we're probably not going to notice. Like, don't overthink it. Just hit post on the video, the lifestyle content, And at the very least, go start posting the content, right? Like, you are not going to know what works with this new shift of lifestyle content unless you just say F it and post the content. Okay. So don't feel like it's going to be pissing your audience off. Just post it and you will learn from all of the stuff that you put out. Okay. Hope this was helpful. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. If you have any questions, you know my DMs are always open, and I will see you next week. Bye.